Welcome to the Real People, Real Business show, where we're talking with business owners who are in the trenches. Everyday people who are working hard and have relevant and inspiring stories that you can relate to. Everyone we speak to is actively building and growing their business and is here to share their experiences, lessons, wisdom, and guidance so you can be inspired to take action towards your own goals. Today, I am so excited to welcome my friend and client and all-around amazing person, Sam Pollack. She creates inspired email sequences for feminist business owners who want their marketing efforts to align with their beliefs and values without sacrificing profitability. This is amazing, Sam. Welcome to the show, and thanks so much for taking the time to share your story today.
Hi, I am so excited to be doing this.
So you have this totally amazing business focus, and it is one that I think is so much needed out there, and you're really taking a stand and you want to change the way that we do things. So tell me a little bit about how you got here. How did you end up with this particular focus?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a two-parter. So how I got started writing full-time was I was floundering and broke after relocating from Boston to Asheville in 2010. At that time, I had been working in the fitness industry for 10 plus years. And when I left the city, I had a cush personal trainer job, 401k, health insurance, the whole deal. But when I got to Asheville, the whole industry is different, the job market's different, people's relationship to fitness and recreation is different. I basically had to start over from scratch, start my own personal training business. And at that time, I went to a nutrition school that promised to take me in and spit me out as a fully fledged health coach with my own business, with all these clients, and all these woo-woo eating philosophies. And so that was kind of my first taste of being a business owner, quote unquote, writing on the internet, etc. I also started a blog when I moved to just kind of like catalog my experience and share what I was going through with that relocation. And that was kind of like my gateway drug to internet writing. So that business was really kind of a shit show. Looking back now, I can kind of see that I really hated everything about it, except the parts that involved writing on the internet, which, I mean, of course, the whole business was on the internet, but all the writing parts I was really into. Everything else about it, not into. The school that I had gone to was really steeped in diet culture, fat phobia, positive thinking, like shaminess. And like I couldn't have articulated any of that at the time, but it makes sense now why I had such a hard time getting traction. I often like to joke that that school is a cult, but maybe it's not a joke. I don't know. So I really tried hard to make that business work, like beating my head against the wall for years. I picked up a number of side gigs and part-time jobs to like barely pay the bills. And I ended up at a local physical therapy clinic / fitness center. And a few months into working there, I offered to head up their blog and most of their online marketing efforts because I'd had to teach myself how to do all of that stuff in my health coaching business. And nobody was really doing it at the gym. So I took over and it was great. So fast forward, or slow forward, I guess, to 2015, after years of like really weird, low paying Asheville jobs, which if you live in Asheville, you totally know what I'm talking about, but I have some stories. And I was super frustrated at not having any money. I was having constant fights with my partner. He was in grad school and just starting his career. So like we were extremely broke and it was frustrating. I finally decided like, I'm going to get a real job, like a job. But I have never actually had a real job. Fun fact about me. I spent like 15 years in the service industry and then 12 years in the fitness industry. And I felt like, you know, like, what do I even know how to do besides wear cute leggings and throw dumbbells around? So I started, so it's like in 2015, I started with a like extensive like skill set evaluation. I wrote down every single thing that I did at my job at the gym. And I actually came up with like a pretty impressive list. And there was a lot of writing skills on there, a lot of internet marketing skills, And one day I said to my soon-to-be husband, you know what I would really like to do? Just write and get paid for it. And he said, yeah, you already do that, and he was right. So I had been publishing regular blog posts at that gym for like 2 years straight. I had also been hired to write a biweekly wellness column for a blog called thenotmom.com, which is a blog for child-free women. This is still in like 2015. I started putting together writing samples, scouring the internet for job opportunities, internships, etc. And it was really like a month. It was all really fast. Right after I started doing that, I landed my first full-time writing gig. And that was for a company called Abundant Yogi. And they were like a coaching platform for yoga instructors, body workers, etc., to help them run their businesses. And they immersed me in like all the copywriting things. Like I got to write every little kind of thing possible, and they sent me to all these trainings that they had. Like all the big heavy hitter guru bro marketers, Ryan Deiss and Frank Kern, Eben Pagan. They made me read this terrible book by Ryan Holiday. And that was kind of my first introduction into like what quote unquote copywriting is, and how utterly like icked out I felt by how misogynistic it felt to me. And at the time, I really didn't like follow that instinct because I was new in the game and I had just made a huge career change, and I was like so eager to learn and so happy that someone was just paying me to do it. And I was just enjoying that I was getting paid to write. So I just kind of took it all with a grain of salt and thought, well, I guess that's how it's done. I guess I'm just like naive or something. So I didn't really heed it, but it always really bugged me. I remember one of the first things I ever watched was Ryan Deiss on stage at like one of the digital marketer conferences, and he was comparing marketing to being a pickup artist. It was like so gross. And I don't know, it always had been very off-putting. I definitely now can like go back and articulate like the patriarchal origins of copywriting and all this stuff that I have learned along the way. But like at the time it was just like, ugh. But then I just kept doing my work, the way I wanted to do it. Anyway, I got laid off from that job. So I went out on my own because I got laid off from that job. And then I got a second job, which was like even more bro copywriting. And I got fired from that job in October 2016. And then I just started trucking. I just took my first client. I got fired in October 2016. And then by the end of 2016, I had landed my first 2 retainer clients and just kind of like buried myself in client work for the next 2.5 years. So, yeah.
So, okay. So you had taken on these clients. When did it move from I'm just doing copywriting for whomever to I'm doing copywriting for this very specific targeted audience in this very specific way?
It was pretty organic. It was like I did so much different work for so many different types of clients, and I really got a feel for like some of the work and culture and like what people were doing in the world. I found that I really didn't feel good if I was working so hard and selling my talent basically to help somebody make money who had a mission that I just like couldn't really get behind. Like whether it's just people who make a lot of money helping other people make a lot of money. So that's kind of like internet marketing businesses. Not that there's anything wrong with internet marketing. I mean, we all do it. We all have to do it. But there's a certain culture of it that is like people, there's a lot of like marketing gurus, especially, who have language about like making the world a better place. But really what they're doing is just like selling $10,000 packages to other people to teach them how to sell $10,000 packages. And all they're doing is marketing. Like they're not actually doing anything or making anything or helping anyone in a real way or helping change a harmful status quo. Yeah. So I also found over the years that I really excelled at writing emails more than anything else. And emails give you a different vehicle. There's a different type of conversation that you're having with the reader than like a sales page, for example. It's more of a conversation. So it lends itself to more like ideological concepts, better crafted writing, more stories. Yeah.
So when was that time that you kind of actually like committed to this being how you put yourself out in the world, right? What you call yourself, who you work with, what you stand for?
Gosh, I mean, it's funny. It's relatively recent. It was a long time coming because I was scared about it. I think I first had the idea to start niching probably around like early 2018. I was scared of niching. I was scared if I say I only write emails that I wouldn't be able to have a sustainable business from that. It wasn't just fear. I also didn't really know how to articulate like who I wanted to work with and why. And so that was kind of an evolution. Working with you over that past year like helped a lot in me like narrowing it down and really standing firm. And then also, I think it was around that time too, I came across a writer named Kelly Deals. And she is a feminist writer. And for a while, I think she's transitioning out of this now, but one of her main things that she taught was this feminist copywriting framework. And so a lot of her writing is like dismantling what typical copywriting methods are doing and sharing a new way to do it that doesn't participate in those. I can give you some examples if that would be helpful. But so reading her work has really helped me like articulate why I felt icked out 4 years ago watching that Ryan Dice presentation and like why I have always felt a little, I don't know, out of alignment with what most people expect from a copywriter. And so that really helped me too. And so that bio that you read from at the beginning, I think I wrote that in like June of last year. So yeah, it's just been in the last year that I've been like, boom, this is who I am. This is what's up, and not apologizing for it.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that a lot of people get to that place. So I think what would be really helpful for them is if they understood, if our listeners understood a little bit more about like what finally got you there, like what was that thinking and what did you realize? Because clearly niching down and being more specific about who you're serving and what you do has not hurt you, right? You've got a pretty healthy business now, and you seem to be working with people that you really want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of a challenging question to answer. Not that I'm trying to dodge it, but it's like, there wasn't like one moment that happened that I could be like, this happened. And then from then on, I was like, I only write emails for socially driven people. It's more like, it's really like what you don't want. That's what it is. I think the last thing that I can remember happening is I had decided to niche down to emails. That decision was a little easier because everyone needs emails and they need lots of emails. So as far as niches go, there are scarier ones. But so that felt good to me. And then I landed this big fish money. Oh God, he was so sorry. We could speak freely on this podcast, right? I landed this client who was such a jerk. Like he was so pompous and arrogant and shiny suits. He was like a private equity investor like guy, which is so outside of anything that I remotely care about or know about, which that in itself isn't a bad thing, but like his personality was just so horrible. And I think working with him, and I cut it off. Like I had signed him for like a huge retainer. He was going to pay me so much money. And I bailed halfway through the month because I just couldn't like handle him. And I didn't agree with what he was doing. I didn't like how he talked to me. He was super sexist. And I think that was the time where I was like, I am not like it. there's nothing wrong with taking a client that isn't your exact ideal, because everyone needs to pay the bills. And it's kind of like a little bit of a fantasy that we could only always work with like 110% perfect clients. But like at that time I was like, I felt like a sellout working with him. And it felt like it was taking time away from other clients maybe who needed me more and respected me more, and also like were doing cooler things. Like it's not interesting to write about real estate investment, but it is interesting to write about like disrupting the pain management industry and getting people off opiates and like curing your own chronic pain. Like that's radical. So yeah.
So who are you working with now? Like what did you figure out? Like I know that you don't always work with people who are exactly in that target audience, but what is it that is sort of the deal breaker about the people that you do work with?
I mean, this is cheesy, but the first word that comes to my mind is kindness. Like so some of the people that I've worked with recently are, I just finished a project that was a website. I still do those sometimes. I just finished a website for a counselor, a mental health counselor based in Colorado, who works from a body liberation framework, and is like dismantling the pathology model of mental health, and diet and diet culture. She works with people with like binge eating disorders and stuff, and she believes that social justice work is part of her job as a therapist. So that was like full on, like 100% Sam's perfect client. But I also have a client that I've worked with on and off, who's a physician, a doctor, anesthesiologist. You can tell where my you can tell where my expertise lies. He's an anesthesiologist, and he teaches other medical professionals how to invest in real estate, which is funny because I just told that horror story of that guy. It was like parallel business, but this guy, his mission is different and more altruistic. Like it's not about altruism necessarily, but he is helping all of these medical professionals that graduate from school and have these expectations of what their lives are going to be like. And then instead they have 6-figure student loan debt, and they don't understand how to run a practice. No one's taught them how to do that. And they don't understand money because they just thought they were going to be rich when they were a doctor. He's helping those people take more control of their lives, live a healthier lifestyle, spend more time with their families. It's not like, changing the world. It's not saving us from climate change, but it doesn't feel, shitty for me to help him do that. And the working relationship is good too. I mean, that's really what it comes down to also.
So this is about having people who are, good humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind, good humans that are doing something to better the world in some way, right? This doesn't have to be like save the whales or something on a really grandiose scheme. But what I'm hearing from you is that you need some type of contribution, right? And that's essential in the people that you're working with. And what's also doubly interesting to me is that you have niched down not just with the people that you work with, but the work that you do, right? You now pretty much primarily focus on emails. And this isn't necessarily just conversion copy. This is like nurture, storytelling, really high integrity copy, right? So you've double niched, which a lot of people are really afraid to do. But from my perspective, this has actually really helped you. Would you say that this should be a scary thing to niche down and find that thing that's really, really you?
Well, I mean, the reality is it's scary. Any transition that you make in your business is scary. And I feel like I'm the last person to tell somebody like, don't be scared, just go for it. It's great. But I would tell someone, and in fact, I just did tell someone, to think more about the kind of work that you like doing than the type of person you want to work with, because they kind of go together. Like if I like to write emails the best, and it's a specific kind of email I like to write the best. And so specializing in emails means I don't always get to write like beautifully flowy stories. One goes into the next and there's like surprise endings. I'm like a fiction writer at heart. So like that stuff is really easy and fun for me. But, I also write launch emails, and if I had to pick, I would pick the former, but it doesn't mean that I won't do the other kind. But even those, that's a whole, sorry, I just went off on a tangent, but even launch emails, that's particularly a culture where it's very aggressive, urgency, selling. And there is a way to do that with integrity. And there is something to be said for the balance between like not annoying the shit out of somebody and just like piercing through all of the noise and just like straight up letting them know that there's a thing they can buy and it expires in 24 hours when they have 47 unread emails in their inbox. To me, it might seem ridiculous to send them 5 emails in one day, but in their reality, if they see your name 5 times amongst 47, they'll probably open one of those emails, But there's a way to bring in more integrity even into that culture. So, yeah, I'm working on that.
So what in that sort of copywriting space, in the industry, so to speak, is like, what's wrong with the way things have been done traditionally?
Well, it depends on how you define wrong, I guess, because people have made a lot of money and built really successful businesses using those techniques. I can tell you what I don't like about it and what I'm doing instead. And I'm not just trying to be, I'm not like diplomatic just for the sake of being diplomatic. I don't want to shit on people who are doing regular copywriting or mainstream copywriting. Somebody has to, I guess. But so there are a couple of distinctive factors in traditional copywriting that, and listen, if you listeners are interested in this, I definitely encourage you to explore Kelly Deals' work, because she articulates this way better than I can. And she's like a really good researcher. So she has all these facts to back her up. So I'm just going to do my best to approximate it. Basically, there's a couple things. There's the manufactured false sense of urgency. There is the playing up the pain points and insecurities of the reader. So everybody, like most people know that copywriting is like an emotional journey, selling and buying, it's an emotional decision. And there's a lot, if you look at like neurolinguistic programming, that is all real like manipulative, I guess is the word. In a way, I mean, every piece of writing in some way manipulates the reader. If you feel something, I mean, even just a piece of fiction does it. But there's a particular, I don't know, there's a certain malevolence to it where it feels like you're tricking somebody into buying something they don't need. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like playing on insecurities, playing on fear. And shame. There's also a lot of shame built into certain copywriting. So some of that you can see in language around investing certain money in yourself. If you don't have, like if you straight up don't have $2,000 to invest in this course, then you should not spend $2,000 on this course, no matter what you think it's going to get you. But there's a lot of sales and copywriting and conversion copywriting that treats that as like just an objection to be overcome, and not as like someone's actual financial reality. I just almost dropped an F-bomb. I'm not sure if we're allowed to do that. Their actual fucking financial reality is that they can't afford this class. And so it's like disrespectful in a way. And so in a feminist framework, you start with shared value. So instead of starting with pain points, you start with a shared value. Like, for example, everyone should feel safe in the body that they have. And that's something we can all agree on. And by we all, I mean like your target audience, right? Then you go into like the things that are in the way of us living that shared value. Like you could talk about the harmful paradigms of like therapy models. You could talk about diet culture. You could talk about fat shaming, detox teas, or whatever. Say, but these things are, you know, standing in the way of us doing that. And then you talk about what you're proposing to do instead. And then you just ask for the sale. Like, it's very transparent. You can see this, and you can see marketers starting to do this. Like, a lot of marketers now are starting their newsletter, their nurture email by just being like, here's all the things I'm doing with links. Like, they're not trying to bury the fact that they're selling you something. So that's one of the defining characteristics of it, is that it's just more honest. And honestly, it's easier to write when you're just being straight and not like leading them to some, you told them this whole story and then boom, by the way, buy this thing.
And is this somewhat dependent though on who you're selling to? Like there are audiences where that sort of more traditional approach really resonates, right?
100%. It also depends on what you're offering. Yeah.
And so these folks you're working with, are they sort of traditionally service based? Are they selling products?
Yeah, I have a couple product based clients, but yeah, mostly it's like service providers, coaches. I worked with a naturopath last year. Even like this Dr. Money guy. Like, it's all very conceptual, and there's a much bigger trust barrier. You're going to spend a lot of time with that person, or you're going to share something like with what you do. Like, it's no joke to like get into all the shit that comes up when you're like restructuring your business. A lot of personal things come up, and I'm not going to plunk down all that money and like be vulnerable unless I already trust you enough at least to feel safe doing that. And so the content leading up to that point is different than if you were just like, I don't know, selling
my
umbrellas.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
Umbrellas. Yeah. There's a lot of umbrellas that we sell up here.
It's raining. You need that shit.
It's minus 17 today. Okay. So
funny enough, one of my product people does sell umbrellas.
So I want to talk a little bit about your business now, because we've talked a lot about kind of the work that you do. And to me, your positioning and your, watching you, we've been working together for almost 2 years now. And watching you having made this shift and really committing to it has been so fascinating. And like, from my perspective, I see how much it's worked for you. But, you're running a business, you're a business owner. So I want to talk a little bit about what growth has meant to you. Like, how have you gone from, that sort of tentative place you may have been, like we all are, to where you are now, where, you've got some consistency and you're a lot more confident with your business, and you've got, like, I think you're booked out for a few months now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Growth has been a really interesting thing for you because it's been very specific.
Yeah. So do you mean more like my mindset and offerings and stuff? Or do you mean like how completely disorganized I was at the beginning and how I've overcome that?
I think the interesting story for me with you is about how you've really chosen what growth is going to look like for you. Like, this is not about piling hand over fist, money. You've been very specific about how this business needs to grow.
Yeah. So thank you. That is clarifying. So I think the biggest through line of all of the growth that I've experienced has been this slow but steady growth toward myself, and like growth toward building the business that I want to have. And there's been a lot that I've had to overcome, and I'm still working on, in the sense that the culture of online business is very much tailored to like super high energy, extroverted, hustling, positive people, 6-figure launches, blah blah blah. It's very exhausting, and it's not necessarily tailored toward highly sensitive people who need a lot of downtime, and get burnt out very easily and take a certain amount of time to do the quality of work that they do. And I guess by they, I mean me. And, you know, I would love to tell you that like, I have been like this punk rock outsider the whole time and been like, fuck you, I'm not listening to any of that. It's like, great, that would be great. But like, the reality is I've often felt like I don't belong, or I don't have what it takes to like make the big bucks, make, you know, real success, whatever that even looks like. I've often struggled with that, and I still do. I mean, you know, my imposter syndrome is real. And so when I think about the growth that I've had, I feel a lot, it's like all this time I never knew that I could just do things however I wanted. And like, however I want to do them is fine and good and right, you know? And it's like, it sounds simple. I mean, it sounds almost rudimentary to say that out loud, but in the culture that we live in, with all of these external messages coming at us, I mean, you spend 10 minutes scrolling your Instagram feed and you can leave there just feeling like shit. And it's not even because people are posting good stuff on there. It's just, you look at it and it's like some people have a personality that is like really in line with being awesome at Instagram, right? And you can look at that and be like, God, I'm never going to be like that. And therefore I'm not going to have, you know, success. And it's vague, but, you know, there's all these practical things. Like I learned how to use Asana, and I like learned how to budget my money and have a plan and not overbook myself. Like that all is part of it though too. Like that's all part of taking my business seriously and respecting it as sort of an entity outside myself. But also, it's one thing to say that, but like the reality is there is only one person who works in that business, and it's me. So I, you know, got to take care of myself, and not just by like taking baths and getting massages and stuff. I mean, I'm not a machine. I'm not a factory. I can't just crank out 7 emails a day and pretend. I mean, I can't do that at all. But if I did, 4 of them would be crap. Yeah. So I think it's helped me book better projects because I'm more honest about the timeline, how long it's going to take me to do something. Yeah. And just like remembering that, you know, the way that I do things is a legit way to do things, even though it might not be how everyone else does things. And probably there's a lot more people like me than it seems like, because people like me aren't out there blaring their horn about it.
100,000,000%. And to me, you are a poster child for alignment, right? For this whole platform that I stand on, which is like, start with you, right? You've got to start with you.
Yeah.
And I use you. I use you as an example a lot, that you can have this, like, you've got a profitable business that actually feels good for you. And yeah, there's like, but that, you know, the transition you've made from, you know, this kind of overwhelm to you're very in control of your business now. And like, yeah, of course, there's always shit that comes up, but you're a poster child for forcing the alignment and being really clear on what you want, right?
Thank you. I don't know if I've ever been the poster child for anything, so that's exciting.
Well, in my world, you are.
Yay!
And the important thing about that is that other people can learn. You identify as a highly sensitive person, as an HSP. You identify a little bit as an introvert, and this is a scary place. Business is a scary place because for people like that, because all the messages that we hear about business are that you have to hustle, you have to be like this really extroverted, you know, highly energetic person. And I don't think that that's true.
Mm.
I don't think it's true that you need to be this like crazy person to be a very successful entrepreneur. I don't believe that you have to have the extroverted hustle and grind mentality. You have this lovely business that is like a lot, and you're totally on top of everything that's going on. And we no longer get to the place where you're like, oh my gosh, a client is ending. I got to rush and get a whole bunch more client. No, we know exactly how many clients you need. And you have this very like methodical way of kind of just filling that gap when you, and you know where it's going to come from. So tell me, like, what's been the most sort of pivotal moment for you, or like realization for you over the past, however many years you've been in business now, 4 or 5 years, that you would say has really shifted things for you and put you in the place where you really want to be?
There have been a few. I think early in my writing career, the feedback that I got about the work that I was doing was so positive. And that is a good antidote for imposter syndrome. I mean, you need a steady dose of it, but it does help when someone else is like, this is amazing, you're amazing, it's so good, you're so good. Like, please give me all of that you can. Those moments have, every time that happens, it is a pivotal moment. I mean, it is very reassuring that I'm on the right track doing what I'm meant to be doing. I would also say, I think, so this is kind of a left field answer, but this past summer, I had the driest dry spell that I've ever had since I started my business. And it was pretty bleak, and our finances were very low. And during that time, I had a friend who was going through a similar time with her business, and her experience was like questioning her whole business and like pivoting and changing everything. And is she doing the right things? Does she have the right offering? Does she da da da? And my experience, while similar in the financial sense, I did not have any of those questions. She was like, should I get a job? And like, I've been there. I was there when the whole time I had my health coaching business. But I never have felt that way since I started my writing business, not even once. And this summer, when like, I really didn't know what I was going to do if I didn't get an influx of clients. But I didn't for a second like think that I should change my offering or change my structure. Like, I knew what the problem was. The problem was that I had not built up a marketing habit at all and had just been relying on these long-term retainers that I had for a really long time and just hadn't built up my pipeline. It wasn't a problem of anything else. And I felt clear on that. And, to be fair, like, a lot of that is because of the work that I was doing with you, that I had that clarity. But yeah, I think that was like a pivotal moment, because it was interesting to like observe that, like to be the observer and be like, I'm not really that worried about this. And I feel like another version of me would be like super worried about this, but I'm really not. And, it was a low key pivotal moment, but I'm low key. That's how that's how I roll.
I love it. And I have a lot of clients like you too, who would like, they want to do good business. They want to build businesses that are successful in their own definition of what success is, but they don't want to have to be out there like, in crop tops and, their Lamborghinis and being like really showy. And like, there's absolutely a way to have the business that you want, and you're making the money that you want. I mean, we can always all make more, but you're making the money when you're doing the work that you want. You are so much more like confident and less overwhelmed. And like, this is all possible. And that's what I really want people to learn from listening to your story, is that you've been determined to not let those other kind of business models become yours because they don't work for you. You have stood your ground, and that's been really important, because if you hadn't, you would have ended up in a different place. So let me ask you, what do you wish you knew before you got started?
Well, I think, yeah, just what we've been talking about. I wish that I had known, I think, about imposter syndrome, really. I mean, I wish I would have known that, like, I was right, I guess. All those feelings that I had about bro marketing and like that crazy content, like dumping, like just dumping content on people. That's like how the mainstream used to do it, and I guess still kind of does. Like my resistance to all of that was right, you know, and that when you have an experience like that, when you're like, welcome to this industry, here's capital H how it works, and you're like, oh, I don't like that. Like that right there is gold. And if you feel that way, like you should listen to it and like follow that rabbit hole instead of not trusting. I mean, I think that's part of, not to get on a soapbox, but like I think that's part of like the patriarchal conditioning of women's relationships with their own instincts, is like everything about it is telling us we can't trust ourselves. And so I think that, you know, there's definitely like a gender situation happening there. But yeah, I was very much like kept myself small and quiet, even though all inside I was like, I hate this. I hate how it feels. And I wish I would have known to listen to that more. And it kind of ties into imposter syndrome too. Like everybody feels like they don't belong. Everyone else knows what they're doing and I don't know what I'm doing. Like they're going to find out. I don't have what it takes. I'm going to lose everything. That's just like standard issue imposter syndrome, and every creative has it. And I didn't really understand that. I mean, I still have it, but at least I know that it's like a thing. It's not that special. You know, everybody has it. So
Never mind every creative, every business owner has this. I can tell you
yeah,
for a fact.
yeah.
Okay, so what's next for you?
Yeah, so very, very early stages. I am starting to work on putting together an online course, because that's what service providers do when they get tired of doing client work. I'm starting an online course to help highly sensitive people slash creatives. I think that's kind of the same group of people, be business owners in a way that supports their needs and doesn't burn them out creatively, protects their kind of little inner, you know, overstimulated self, and still functions in the business world.
I couldn't even tell you how much I adore this. And I already knew about it. And I think this is so relevant and so important, because you and I are both on this mission to empower anybody to become an entrepreneur because of the benefits we get from doing that. And if there's some way that we can target highly sensitive people who just don't feel like maybe they can do it, this is all gold. And so what kind of support do you need in order to make that happen?
Well, what I really need right now is potential people who would be interested in something like that. I would like to talk to some of those people. And so, like, you know, now that I've had all my growth, one of the things I'm doing differently is taking my time with this instead of just like slapping together a bunch of content and then being upset that nobody bought it. I want to do some interviews first and figure out like what would really be helpful to people. I have a lot of ideas, and I think since I'm basically the target market for this, like I think, and I've like done a lot of this work, I think I have good ideas, but you know, I would love to know like what somebody else would find helpful, especially like formatting, because I don't want to make a bunch of HSPs sit on long phone calls. That's like the opposite of what they need. But then how are we going to talk? Yeah, so that would be a big help to me.
Awesome. So you're looking for other HSP identifying business owners who can just hop on a call with you and help you understand a little bit more about what they need.
Yeah, just like a half hour coffee chat.
Awesome.
Or we could just be friends. That's good too.
Friends are good. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll put the call out there to the community, and we will ask them for their help, and we'll see what you get back.
That's so amazing.
I know
Thank
that they
you.
are out there and they're going to need you. So be careful because your inbox might get flooded.
Oh man.
All right. Okay, my dear, it's been so lovely talking to you. I love your business. I love you. I love where you've gotten to. We are running out of time, but I know that we could talk for another hour. Thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. So make sure and go and check out Sam and her amazing work. And thank you for tuning in today to hear Sam's story. The episodes that you're listening to are all featuring members of my free private Facebook group called the Real Deal Business Coaching Group, where we have daily prompts to keep you focused on building your business and sharing your everyday challenges, bi-weekly virtual coffee chats, open coaching, and member support from this incredible community. And now we are doing monthly pop-up coaching sessions, which is so great. If you'd like to join our community or if you'd like to be featured on this show, I would love for you to come and hang out with us in the group. Links in the show notes, or search up Real Deal Business Coaching in Facebook to find us. And finally, I would love for you to come and join us for our next episode, where we're going to be speaking to Nadine Manson, who has built a really interesting business. She creates activewear she's managed to figure out the trifecta of clothing manufacturing so that they're sustainable, ethical, and they look and feel amazing. So she's developed this really interesting model within a traditional industry that just sucks. So I can't wait to talk to her. I have known her for years and worked with her on her business, and it is such a great story. So thank you again for being here. And if you've enjoyed today's content, I'd love for you to give us a review on whatever platform you're on. This helps us share these stories with an even bigger audience. And Sam, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It was so great.
And until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep being real.